So, let's talk about D&D Live, the good, the bad, and the sigil.
Oh, behave.
On Saturday night at GenCon, Wizards of the Coast hosted their first D&D Live event in several years. Now, D&D Live started off as a live-streamed series of shows held on location in front of an audience, but it shifted to an online model during the pandemic. It disappeared in, I believe, 2022 and 2023, so this was the first D&D Live branded event in quite some time. Now, the event featured Aabria Iyengar as the DM, with Brennan Lee Mulligan, Anjali Bhimani, Samantha Béart, and Newbon as the players. Additionally, Sam and Neil both played their characters Karlach and Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3. Now, the live show was a good representation of how Baldur's Gate had really changed the framing of Dungeons & Dragons. At previous shows, there'd be a ton of hoots and hollers when someone jokingly referenced Joe Manganiello's physique, and that was about the extent of the saucy jokes. There were little winks to the crowd, but nothing beyond PG. The first half of D&D Live was a sexy slop fest, and I say that in the best possible way. Sam, Neil, and Aabria all leaned into the romantic lust angles of the game, with everyone hitting on everyone. Anjali also got in on the action as well, and it was clear that everyone was on the same page and consented to a good time. We literally had a talking badger at one point consent to getting eaten by Astarion. To give you a general idea of how hot this was, someone behind me muttered, and this is literally true, splooge, when Karlach and an NPC played by Aabria were flirting, and the voice was a femme voice, I should add. While I think D&D AP has kind of shied away from the constant flirting in the past, you see bits of that in Critical Role, but it's balanced out by the fact that, they're all fans of ships, and there are plenty of ships. It's just all PG and PG-13. I think that in this context, it shows that there was a non-creepy, consensual way of playing a little bit more lustily, and that folks can have their fun however they want. I don't think that every game needs to have it, but, it was definitely a good time, and I'll just say that. Now, since official actual plays produced by Wizards are so rare, it's kind of interesting to see how Wizards have shifted their approach since the previous era of D&D Live. Previous APs did use iconic D&D characters as adventurers from time to time. I remember that the 2019 adventure featured Jim Zub and Matt Mercer as Minsk and Boo, respectively, but this adventure had a much more loaded cast. It featured two of the most popular characters of the year, plus two of the three biggest D&D/tabletop RPG related DMs in the space, and an accomplished actress in Anjali Bhimani, who has also really stepped up as one of the big tabletop RPG folks in the actual play space recently. And perhaps most importantly, this was a sold out event with none of the cast announced. Now, the first half of the event, as I said before, was a blast, but the second half is where things got a little odd. Wizards used D&D Live to showcase Project Sigil, which is the new virtual VTT system, and how it works in combat. Now, during an earlier preview in the week, we saw the level builder aspects of the app, and it really primarily looks like a level builder that you can then use digitally in combat. This was more of a hands-on demonstration, but the energy in the room very much changed once the computers came out. For the most part, the players spent most of their time focusing on Sigil, getting the system to work, staring at the map and figuring out which one of the kobolds they wanted to kill, instead of entertaining the crowd or role-playing or any of the other things that fans came to see. The fans, they did ooh and ah when attack rolls were made and dragon breath weapons were fired, but many of the attack rolls were rushed, and you didn't really get a good look at what actually happened in the system. It was a pretty damning bit in my eyes that Sigil, in its current form, isn't ready for use at the table. Now, keep in mind that Sigil still is in beta form, and they have said many times that there will be more features added in after they determine what the fans actually want. But there were these moderately long pauses in combat as people tried to get the system to work, and the screen behind the players had a widescreen version of the map that really didn't seem focused on the action. I will note that the side screens, which I'm assuming is what the actual VOD VOD is going to look like, had some alternative angles, and I'm guessing, you know, again, that's what we're going to see on the final VOD, so it should look a little bit better. But at the very least, it probably showed that Wizards is probably going to need to talk to APs and strategize a bit, and probably bring back some sponsored actual plays to help demonstrate how to use Sigil in general and come up with some sort of standard so that it doesn't distract as badly as it did during D&D Live. The demonstration of Sigil really showed that in its current form, it's not something that I particularly want with my players. It's already bad enough that players spend a lot of their time staring at D&D Beyond. It's fine because that helps the game move faster, and they would be staring at character sheets anyways, but you know, I would much rather them look down at a table than stare at their computers literally 24/7 during the game. So basically, to summarize, D&D had a roaring first half and a strange deflated second half, although I will say the cast recovered and brought the adventure to a fun end. We learned a lot about Sigil, and some of it was perfectly fine. Again, I would not be threatened about what Sigil is going to do to the Dungeons & Dragons tabletop brand, but at the same time, it's clearly still a couple of years away from really having, you know, solid potential in my eyes. So anyways, the VOD for the new D&D Live should go up today. That's Monday. So check it out and let us know what you think in the comments.